everybody, and welcome to ChasingCinema.com's official podcast. I believe, if you've been with us since the beginning, you have joined us for 128 podcasts, and for that, I thank you. However, don't feel left out if this is the first time tuning in, because we are grateful to have you join us as well, no matter how late in the game. If you're downloading this, if you're listening to it on YouTube, at our YouTube page, if you're listening to it on Podbean or through iTunes, the one we recommend most, we thank you for letting us in your cars, offices, living rooms, iPods, wherever you're hearing us from. We thank you here at ChasingCinema.com. Without further ado, let me introduce myself. I am one of your hosts, Jacob Toronto, and I am joined by my loyal, faithful co-host / best friend,
Louis Corazzo.
And we are here to talk about the world of motion pictures. Today, for this Halloween-esque episode, it's not really Halloween anymore. When you're listening to this, it'll be over. But since it's before Halloween when we're recording, it's kind of a Halloween episode.
Hey, if sitcoms could do it a week in advance, I think we can kind of fit the boundary of a week, 2 weeks after Halloween, where it's still Halloween themed.
Yeah, and we're only doing it like 2 days after Halloween, so we're solid.
Very solid.
Today we're going to be talking about Avengers: Age of Ultron. We're going to be talking about American Sniper. I don't know if Louis has any movie news this week or anything he's got to talk about. I'm sure a little bit. And then we're going to close out this week by reviewing Saw and Nightcrawler. Movies that me and Louis both have seen, which is a treat because with much studying, Louis has been quite busy and has not been able to watch as many movies as he would like to. But today, me and Louis are going to have some good conversation. So,
absolutely,
Louis, in the short period of time, which has only been a few days since we're shooting this fairly early this week, have you been watching anything, or have you been watching anything to keep your interest?
There was two things I wanted to mention on the last podcast, but it totally slipped my mind. But I'm glad that we're recording now, so I could bring this up. Last weekend on Comedy Central, Artie Lang, the sidekick of Howard Stern for many, many years and stand-up comedian in his own right, released his own stand-up special on Comedy Central. So I gave that a watch. And Artie Lang, are you familiar with him or any of his material?
I've seen Artie Lang here or there. I do know he has a podcast and a radio show type deal, and if you have DirecTV, if you go on Channel 500, he'll be on like for 3 hours, 4 hours, and it'll just be him talking. And I mean, I've heard some of his conversations. I've heard the type of comedy he does. Well, maybe not stand up, but just him in general. And I don't know. I've never found him to be the funniest guy. I don't know if he's mind you, my favorite comedian doesn't curse, swear, or say anything sexual as Bill Cosby. But I don't know. How was he?
Well, because I was going to say, he's the type of guy that could rub you the wrong way, and maybe in small doses he is best fit. But I've generally liked him and liked his comments. He's been on Jimmy Fallon a lot, and he's great with Jimmy Fallon. So, he was promoting this on late night, so, okay, I decided to give it a try, and it's a typical Artie Lang. He's inappropriate, crude, rude, but he's funny, and there's still a likability to him because he knows who he's dealing with. He makes fun of himself just as much as he makes fun of everyone else. So that's kind of refreshing to see. So I definitely enjoyed that. If you're a big Artie Lang fan, definitely check it out, because it's right up your alley. All the Howard Stern fans, I'm sure, would definitely appreciate that. But the real treat of the night came afterwards, and Comedy Central aired a Tracy Morgan stand-up from fairly recent called Bonafide. Now, I have not seen this one before, and so I decided to stay up and watch it all, and it was a riot. It was probably one of Tracy Morgan's best material he's ever done. And I know, especially way before the accident, he's been in trouble with some of his jokes he said, referencing about the gay son, which is definitely not funny. And I don't know why he would have said that in the first place. But I think this came before that, and he was just very funny, and it was so good to see Tracy Morgan on stage. And I know he's recovering. There's reports that he might not ever be able to perform again. He's relearning how to walk and talk. So that's very, very tragic. but it was just great to see vintage Tracy Morgan being funny, being uncandid. It was just a delight. So I definitely want to mention that. And the last thing I watched, and especially I guess it's inappropriate for Halloween. I finally caved in, and I watched the first episode of The Walking Dead.
Oh, really?
Yes, because my lovely sister, who I guess after watching Dexter with her, she needed another show to fill, and it went from The Killing and now to The Walking Dead, and she's on season 3, and I got really mad. How can you leave me in the dust? So I decided, okay, let me try and attempt to catch up, and I did watch episode 1, the pilot episode, and I don't know. Have you seen it yet?
I've seen the pilot episode. I don't know if I've talked about it on the podcast. Me and Samantha watched one episode because, as you, I'm sure, everyone knocking on the door has to say how great The Walking Dead is. I've actually spoken to a lot of critics who don't necessarily agree. But I was like, let me watch an episode. So I watched the pilot. So let's talk about the pilot of Walking Dead. Even though we are probably 5-6 years late, we're going to be behind. Let's talk about. And granted, I watched this probably over a year ago. This pilot. So I mean, I hope that doesn't give away how I thought of the pilot. But let's talk about it. Okay, so. I don't really remember much, but I remember what I didn't like, what I did like. So why don't you tell us what you thought of the Walking Dead pilot? What was your impression?
I was quite impressed by it for the majority of it, at the very least. In many ways, it was definitely cinematic. And with Frank Darabont being the creative control behind the first couple of episodes, you could definitely see how it would fit a cinematic universal landscape. It was beautifully shot, well designed. I'm not the biggest zombie fan, especially when compared to a dear friend of ours, Connor and Barry Stewart, who just obsessed with zombies and everything Walking Dead. I'm not that type of guy, so I wasn't attracted to the zombie per se, but more about the human side of it. Again, this is only the pilot, but I liked it. I liked the character potential of the character dynamics that was set up for it. Officer Rick is fine with me. It was cool. Maybe I didn't like the zombies. Look interesting, look different. Some of the kill shots, I guess, were a bit excessive. And I don't necessarily have a problem with it. It didn't change my opinion of the show, but I think it was just trying to be cool and trying to be, let's do this, and without any real meaning behind it. So maybe that was a slight on it, but I enjoyed it.
So I guess the main question is, are you going to moving on to episode 2?
Yeah, I would definitely, for the longest time, I wanted to watch Walking Dead. Without a doubt, and it's just when can I fit this into my schedule? And yeah, if I have time, I want to. Absolutely, I would be continuing, but it's a big task because I still want to watch Mad Men. I still want to watch a boatload of other films and TV shows. So time will tell, but hopefully, when it's all said and done, I've watched The Walking Dead in its entirety.
So, from what I can remember of The Walking Dead, my first experience wasn't so positive. The one thing I really remember more than anything was that I really, really disliked the performance from Andrew Lincoln, who played Officer Rick, our main character. And though I've not followed The Walking Dead, I don't know. Obviously, I don't know who. I know it is a show that tends to eliminate a lot of main characters, so I don't even know if Rick's still alive. But for the show to introduce him as a main character, I had a lot of problems with his acting. I just could not buy his character. I didn't like him. I didn't believe him. Though I agree with you that Frank Darabont, it was shot wonderfully and it was quite cinematic for a television show. I think I enjoyed the surroundings more than I enjoyed the main character, but I think his performance irked me so much, it really put me off. Granted, I mean, I did say I saw this about over a year ago, and I've yet to watch episode 2. Granted, granted, it is not fair to really judge a movie on just one episode. And I think everyone kind of understands that. It's definitely worth at least trying. I mean, as Gotham, I did watch half of a second episode. So, I mean, I personally feel like I need to go back and rewatch the first couple episodes, because even a good friend of mine has told me, the first episode's kind of rough. Get through the second and third, and you'll get into it. And that's totally possibly true, because I've heard a lot of people tell me about Breaking Bad. The first episode turning them off and them not being able to get through it, and they don't feel like they're going to love it. And little do they know how great of a show is beyond those first couple episodes, even though I enjoy those episodes. But Walking Dead, to me, the main character, who is the emphasis of that show, just really put me off, and I really didn't enjoy his performance, nor did I believe it. So I was I
didn't get that. I thought he was fine, and Lincoln was fine in his performance as Sarah Frick. Granted, did I love that character and sympathize with that character as much as the other ones? No, but I didn't have a problem with it. I thought the real star was Lenny James. He plays Morgan Jones.
Yes.
And he was the first man he encounters.
Yes.
And I thought he was phenomenal.
And if I'm not mistaken, that's the character has to shoot his wife, correct?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, because I enjoyed that too, and that's the really I remember that part, and I remember the end having to do with like a tank and a horse. That's about it. But I just remember, I mean, I wish I could give an example of me not liking it, because I can't even tell you, I really can't even remember what he did that bothered me. I just remember saying like, wow, like I don't know if I could latch on to him for however many years. I mean, at that point, I think there's only 3 or 4 seasons, if that. Now I think there's 6, 7. I have no idea.
Well, I think they announced it's 6. So I think they're still on the 5th season.
Okay, so then they were probably only on 2 or 3 when I watched this. And so granted, like I said, I mean, I know it's my fault for not continuing and watching to kind of give more of a chance for it to kind of develop. But, I mean, I'm just kind of falling back on the TV bandwagon where I'm trying to watch television. As Louis known, most of my entire life, I've never been much of a TV person. If I do, I gravitate towards the traditional sitcom or comedy that I could just pop in before bed and fall asleep to. Hence, Roseanne, The Cosby Show, Seinfeld, things of that nature. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, things really light and not very dramatic. However, I mean, I watched Breaking Bad. I watched The House of Cards. I watched The Sopranos, obviously. But, I mean, and like I said, I recently watched The In-Betweeners. I rewatched the Roseanne series. So I'm I'm slowly getting back into the commitment of a television show just because it does take up so much time. But, there are a few on my list that I'd rather get to before I get on The Walking Dead. Worst case scenario, I'd like to watch it when it was all done so I could just go through, blaze through it. But as me and you were discussing earlier today, I still need to watch True Detective. I still need to watch, what was the other one that I really, really wanted to watch? I can't even think of the name. I don't know. There's a lot, and I know I have a lot to catching up to do, so.
And I know, at least for me, this past Sunday marked the end of Broadwalk Empire. The series is complete.
Yes.
So once they release the box set of that, that's something I get on.
Yeah, and, they're also bringing Sopranos on Blu-ray in a whole box set, and I would love to revisit those because, granted, I say how I can't commit to a television show, knowing that I know the television show is going to be great, and revisiting them on Blu-ray is something I do see myself taking time for, rather than wasting it on a show that I think is going to be disappointing. I've been told by many, many people to watch Game of Thrones, so that is on my list as well. So there's just a lot. But my first priority right now, as we talked about, is True Detective.
Yeah, and once HBO releases their own online streaming service, separate of any subscription to the channel, that's going to help out too.
Yeah, as me and you were talking about that, HBO has announced that they're going to do their own streaming application, HBO Go, which they already have, but I believe it is a bonus
for subscribers.
Yeah, for subscribers. now you'll be able to get that service. What I believe is talking about at a $15-$20 range right now. I don't know if that's going to adjust. I don't know when it's coming out, but I know that's kind of the talk right now. I know CBS is going to do their own version called All Access, and it's only going to be $6. We have a few. I mean, eventually, I'm assuming we're going to get to a point where there's pretty much most major networks or companies are going to have their own version. Now, am I wrong? Does NFL have this type deal? Where you could go.
Well, you could.
I know they have. They have the Now.
Yeah, NFL on the go on your phone. Anywhere you go, you can watch the games.
Okay, so Now isn't like a library, like Netflix.
I have no clue.
Okay, so see, because I keep seeing that commercial. I got it now. And
yeah, I know.
And I didn't know if that was like, here, watch any game you want, like since every televised game. Because I mean, I don't know if you'd like people. I mean, I'm
do
sure
that.
People are out there that would do that, but I don't know if that's like a great selling point.
No, the one I'm familiar with is an app, a service fee where you pay a certain amount a month, and you can get any NFL game you want on the go on your phone, your tablet, your computer.
That makes no sense.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But again, being a football fan, you get a lot of games on TV already. You get the 2 morning games, an afternoon game, Sunday night football, Monday night football, Thursday night football. That's a lot of games.
I guess it's more if
you want to follow your team.
Yes, like the Buffalo Bills, who never are on TV.
Well, there's a reason for that.
Exactly, but that's what I'm saying. It's meant for people like me.
Yeah, but that's why you don't have
Even though we're doing pretty well this year. Just saying.
Yeah. Just saying. Not saying, just saying.
But I mean, yeah, so anyway, I'm sure there's other shows I need to get around to. As we recently discussed, I finished the show In-Betweeners. I'm trying to think if I watched anything in the couple of days that we've not spoken besides what we're going to be talking. No, I mean, honestly, I've watched 2 films, but the films we're going to talk about. And I've watched a few episodes of Restaurant Impossible in between. And there's also some wrestling programming in there. So that's about it. But so I'll let you. And I think we've taken enough time talking about that anyway. So let's move over and talk about a continuation of last week's conversation where me and you were going to talk about American Sniper and Avengers 2 Age of Ultron. Now let's start with American Sniper. So if you didn't hear our podcast last week, make sure to go back on iTunes or our YouTube page to check out our last episode, episode 126, where I basically denounced my non-trailer ways and have admitted, because it'll help me in conversations like these, and because the YouTube page of Chasing Cinema at youtube.com/Chasing Cinema will be doing talking about trailers and movie news, that I need to be more on it, because I used to be really on it, like Louis. I used to give movie news on a weekly speech during our film club and things like that. It's so funny because I remember talking about movies that are coming out now that just finally made it. I remember talking about Maleficent back in like 2009, 2010, and being like, look, this movie's going to come out, and then, seeing it this year. But so I decided to so me and Louis brought up American Sniper trailer, and we both needed to watch the Avengers Age of Ultron trailer. So let's first talk about American Sniper. Louis, what are your impressions of Clint Eastwood's new film starring Bradley Cooper?
Like I alluded to last week, wow. I think that's right. Wow. I was pumped up. And I was very intrigued by this story, just because even before Clint Eastwood, it was supposed to be a Steven Spielberg film with Bradley Cooper. And then he had to drop out to pursue some other project. I can't remember off the top of my head right now. And then Clint Eastwood came right in. And this is like right after he wrapped up Jersey Boys. He's doing the production, getting ready for that to take off. And he joined this. And, I was very intrigued by that, even though Clint Eastwood has kind of been on a cold streak with many critics and fans alike. But seeing the first trailer, it really got me excited for this project. I thought it was well done trailer, and Bradley Cooper looks very committed to this performance, and we know he's a very committed actor with his performances in Silver Linings Playbook and American Hustle, and I think this could be a very rewarding experience.
So, unlike most trailers that use a bunch of clips from the film, though a lot of clips are used in this trailer, it really kind of focuses on one scene or sequence in the film.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's so rare, besides the feeling of excitement or dread in a trailer to feel such like different emotions, but that trailer has to be one of the most tense trailers I think I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the within moments, literally. I mean, usually you are introduced to characters and ideas and plots through trailers. This says this is what we're kind of about. Nice to meet you. And then you take them on a date. And that's going to see the movie, if you will. And this was like if your date kissed you when you met him. It was like, hi, because it like literally throws you in there. And I think it is one of the most intense trailers I've ever seen, just because it literally puts you in a position you're like, oh my God, like what's he going to do? And if you've not seen this trailer, it pretty much follows a sniper who, I believe it says one of America's top snipers or the top sniper in the United States Army. I forget the exact title, but he is watching his fellow soldiers, and a young woman or an older woman, which looks like a nun, is in like a nun outfit or a type of religious getup. I guess not a nun outfit, but
not a nun,
not a nun outfit, but a religious getup. Excuse me, I was raised Catholic. Just excuse me.
They took out all the suspense and anxiety that the trailer provided right there.
You're kind of right, man. She's not in a nun outfit, so excuse
not
me.
At all
I hope that not. I can't remember. I got to remember, but some religious getup, if you will. If she was if she was a Catholic, it would have been a nun outfit. But don't worry, it's not a nun outfit. Some other type of religious getup. And she's with a child. And she gives the child something, and the child starts running towards the troops. Now, it is up to Bradley Cooper to determine if it is something harmful and if he has to eliminate the target. And just this moment of watching this child run toward these soldiers and thinking about Bradley Cooper's choice, if he has to kill this child, and if it is something non-threatful, how terrible that is. And even if it is something threatful, though it seems to have a better outcome, it is still terribly, terribly sad. So either way, it is a very intense position. And, as much as we know Bradley Cooper is fighting that conflict in his head, he doesn't really show it as much as you would think someone would. And but that choice alone gives the trailer enough intensity to really, really get you hooked. And just the simple fact of him sitting up there and he's calm and he's just watching through a scope and it's quiet. I really enjoyed this trailer, and I think Clint Eastwood hopefully brings back a punch with this movie because, like as you said, his last couple films have not done his work justice.
Absolutely, and I think the best way to describe what the lady was wearing is like hijab.
Yes, thank you, hijab,
veil, and all of that. So yeah, I
excuse me, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Don't get confused. People might think about The Town when they were wearing the nun's outfit, robbing a bank. But yeah, I'm looking forward to American Sniper, and anxieties awaits us later this year.
Yeah, I know, right? That movie's gonna be all sorts of anxious. So moving on to what I'm sure most of the world wants us to talk about, because the whole world listens to this podcast, of course.
Yeah, naturally.
Is the Avengers 2 Age of Ultron. So, Louis, you got to watch this trailer. I got to watch this trailer. Were you confused at all what was going on? Do you know who Ultron is? Do you know what Ultron is about? Do you know what in the world this movie is going to be about? What are your thoughts on the Age of Ultron trailer?
Well, historically, I'm not good with comic books.
Historically.
Because I have not read a comic book per se.
You've never read one comic book?
I can't. Does the comic book strips at the Bazooka Gum
Didn't I lend you a Batman comic at one point?
I probably skimmed through it.
Jesus.
I probably didn't read cover to cover.
Jesus.
So, who is Ultron? Who knows? Who cares at this point? Because there's two words you need to say after this trailer, and that's James Spader. His voice was chilling, and he does play Ultron, if I'm correct.
So I guess it kind of does matter who Ultron is.
Yeah, well, I guess, but James Spader predates that and is more important than Ultron himself. So I give that the credit. Marvel, especially with the Iron Man series, has historically, again using the word historically, done a great job at promoting the villains.
Apparently, Louis likes the word historically. And apparently, it will scare you half to death.
I love that kid.
If you guys don't know what we just referenced, please check out. Just YouTube the apparently kid. Oh my gosh. I sneezed on me.
Hysterical.
Apparently.
Anyways. Apparently, where was I?
He only watches the Powerball.
Oh, that just ruined me.
James Spader.
Yeah, well, yeah. Historically, again. So yeah, Marvel has always done a great job of promoting the villains, especially in the Iron Man series. You know, they made Ben Kingsley look amazing as the Mandarin, or quote unquote the Mandarin. And then the second one with Mickey Rourke, they hyped that villain up so much it probably even hurt the film. So they've done that so well throughout. They do it again here. I'm excited to see this just because I want to see. We're all strings. They're my puppets. I'm free now. Like, yes, stick it to them.
Strings on me.
I'm all for that, and I think I might be a part of a selective group of people who kind of roots for the villains in films sometimes. And especially when we get a group like the Avengers, where I like them, sure I do, but I'm probably more intrigued by Ultron just because he's probably more interesting.
Especially with what Disney has taught us, and also me and Louis have a background in professional wrestling. Heels always are more interesting. Like, let's think, okay, I don't know if I was the only kid, but let's think back to any great Disney film. The villain was way cooler than any hero in any Disney film. I mean, Scar, Jafar, Ursula, way cooler than their counterparts. So, maybe that, and maybe the fact that wrestling has brainwashed us. Me and you have always rooted for the bad guy, but I agree. James Spader steals the show in this trailer.
And he's not even in it. Really.
And he's not even really in it. But from what I believe, he's doing the voice, but he's also doing some motion capture. Right. So he's partially in it, from what I've been reading. Granted, it's my first time back in the movie news world, so I might not be reading correctly.
You forgot how to read.
But nonetheless, I think James Spader totally steals a show. That whole that last line of the trailer, "No strings on me." Oh man, it gave me chills. And just his voice, and like when we first see him, he's like a destroyed and riddled kind of robot, and he's just all ripped up and shredded. I think it's great. And I mean, people have been really excited for Ultron. Personally, Ultron was never someone that really intrigued me. Ultron is typically known for fighting the Avengers in the world of comics. He's been around, I believe, since the 60s. But the major thing about Ultron in this story, which can really, really make Avengers more interesting than just having Ultron, is that Ultron was created. Ultron is a creation that they've made a twist on the fact that... Okay, so... All right, so I'm getting ahead of myself. Ultron was created by Hank Pym. Or
Ant-Man
Hank Pym.
guy.
Hank Pym, yeah. Whatever way you like to sway his name. However, he is not in this film. Marvel is going to say, Hank's not in this. So, in the trailer, it leads you to believe, which I don't know if it's been confirmed or not, that Tony Stark created Ultron.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that puts a really interesting twist on the character. It puts a really interesting twist on Tony Stark. It puts a really interesting twist on the whole movie's plot. So I think that is something to really look forward to. But as Tom Hiddleston did also keep up with the Avengers, the whole cast of the Avengers. I think even with the addition of Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, I think Ultron is going to steal the show.
Agreed. And the thing about Tony Stark creating Ultron is definitely intriguing. And I guess the only thing I wasn't crazy about was the introduction to the quote-unquote miracles. You can call them mutants.
Yeah.
That was okay, whatever. But I did like how it appears that Tony Stark and, the Hulk would get into it, and that'd be kind of cool to see, just for this, spectacle of it all.
To quickly hop in, sorry.
Yeah,
so that was, that's another point. So I'm going to let Louis kind of get back on that. But
no.
I was also really surprised to see the Hulkbuster armor. And Hulkbuster armor, as it's named, was literally created to fight the rageful Hulk. So the fact that I was like, oh, is that what I think it is? And next scene is like a car being thrown at him with the Hulk behind it. I was like, wow, so they're going to let the Hulk and Iron Man get into it. Now, I was reading this and it said, posted months ago. I'm like, oh, I guess I'm behind in the world. Mm-hmm. Because, like I said, I haven't been reading movie news. But I think the whole Iron Man has, at one point, feuded with pretty much everyone in the Avengers. So, I hope that this will open up a great storyline to show some conflict within this group of men and women. Now, well, I guess no, but yeah, because we had Natasha, but she wasn't even a real major character. But I hear that they're going to make her more of a main focus now, and then we have Scarlet Witch. But we have her. What was I saying? Oh, we have conflict in this group, and I hope that'd be really, really good, and I would like to kind of see that more escalated. But from what I've been reading, it's not going to be a super major conflict or a major story to the plot. But again, they could be changing that. They could just be saying that. But I'm glad to see the Hulkbuster armor making a debut.
Yeah, that did look legit. But we still have to wait half a year for it. So
yeah, I know. It doesn't come out until May 1st, 2015, which is quite a ways away. So, to get all your hopes up, things could change. They could go reshoot, change the ending.
Well, that would be bad. They'd have to do a reshoot from now.
Yeah, that would be bad. But anyway.
That would not be a good sign.
But James, I guess we both can agree, James Spader is the highlight of that trailer. And probably going to be the highlight of the movie. As me and Josh Bell talked about quite in depth, I've grown weary of the comic book movie. So even as I watched this trailer, I don't think it got it pulled the excitement out of me that it wanted it to. And I have many friends on Facebook and Twitter just I acted like I was typing when I made that noise. I know you guys can't see me. I forget this is a non-visual podcast. Okay. But they're tweeting away, they're posting away, they're YouTubing away, super, super excited. Their life hangs in the balance of this movie being good. But see, to me, I think it's worn out its welcome, and I think I'm tired of it. So, granted, I was a skeptic for Avengers. I always thought that movie, I honestly was like, this movie will never be able to live up to the hype, but it did. So, more power to Marvel. I honestly hope though there are some, I believe there are a film or two in between. I hope the Avengers gives me that breath of fresh air and makes me be like, all right, I'm ready. I'm back in the game. But as of right now, I am honestly, I was more excited by the American Sniper trailer than I was Avengers 2. I won't say I was more excited film-wise, but like I said, I don't think that trailer got the excitement out of me as it would have if this was 10 years ago. Or not 10, but 5 years ago even.
You're not on strings anymore, Jake.
Yeah, I'm free.
You are free.
No strings on me. So, me and Louis, as we ranted about TV shows and talking about Walking Dead, we kind of took up the majority of time. If you think there's any really important movie news, spew it. If not, let's just hop right into Nightcrawler and Saw.
Well, I was going to mention some other things, but let's scrap that. I'm just going to mention this one thing because it is Halloween still. So let's focus on Halloween films. And since we're going to be talking about Saw, I think this is a good lead-in. A while ago, they were talking about making a Scream TV show. I don't know if I think we talked about this briefly, but it's official. MTV is going ahead and making a 10-episode reboot of Scream that will come out next October. So October 2015, and it's reported that Ghostface would not be making an appearance in the series, or at least the first season.
Interesting.
Yeah, which I'm thinking, okay, cool. They want to make Scream, go ahead. The last Scream wasn't that good. Reboot it, give it life. No. So go ahead, be my guest. But how can you have Scream without Ghostface? That seems a little odd to me.
Yeah, I don't know.
Then why call it Scream? Am I right?
I don't know.
It's pointless.
Yeah, might as well make your own thing.
Yeah,
but I guess you already have a guaranteed audience.
That you definitely name recognition, but it could be a good misdirection. And then Ghostface shows up at like the last 5 minutes of episode 10.
Yeah, maybe.
Which would be cool. We don't need to see him every episode per se, I guess. There's mind games, kidnappings, make him do a couple killings here and there, and then bam, the big reveal. I guess that could work. But it's MTV. Yeah, that's a little depressing.
Honestly, I don't know. Actually, the last time I popped on MTV was this morning. So it didn't seem that long, but it's because they were playing Fresh Prince. But besides that, I don't know the last time I've had MTV on my TV. I don't know when's the last time I've ever been I need to pop on Channel 37, if that's even the channel anymore. But
I think it is for Cox cable providers, subscribers.
Cox cable provider. Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, anything else?
No, that's it. I kept it nice and brief.
All right, so moving forward. I probably should put the real music in there. I mean, it'd be a lot less low budget, but I know everyone likes me singing, so. So it was it was October 29th, I believe, of 2004, when James Wan made his directorial debut. We now know him as pretty much one of the leaders in the horror genre today. He made his debut with a film called Saw. Oh, I thought... Sorry, Louis made a weird face, but I guess it was just a yawn.
It was a yawn, excuse me. They don't know what time we're doing this at.
So, yeah, it is late. So it is the 10-year anniversary of the release of Saw, which has become the most classic. How do I word this? It has similar to a lot of the 80s classic horror films. Saw has created a franchise 8 films long, right? 8 films long or 7 films long?
I gave up around 5, 4.
No. So,
yeah.
Oh my god, is there 8 Saws or is there 7 Saws? I feel like an idiot now. No, there is 8 Saws.
That's a lot.
Oh no. Saws. There's only 7 Saws. I'm just kidding.
And you call yourself a fan.
Jeez.
How dare you?
I know.
Used to be ashamed
hey man, it's been a really long time. They've been out of theaters for...
Don't matter.
I know, I'm sorry.
I know how many championships the Yankees won. That never leaves my mind.
Oh, you're sick. 7 films.
Are you sure?
No. I'm pretty sure it's just 7. But you could be wrong. So let me see here.
If Jigsaw was alive and watching this right now,
he would not be happy.
Or listening to it, he would not be happy.
I could have swore there's 8, but I'm probably wrong. So yeah, the last one was 3D, right? 3D. All right, no, wait, hold up. I got it right here. There should be 7 feature films. Okay.
Even though IMDb has a page for Saw 8 with a plot description that is unknown.
All right. Well, there are 7 films. This movie would go on to create seven films, 6 sequels, like a classic 80s horror film would. Saw has kind of, as the tagline says, it's Halloween when it's Saw, or it's Saw because it's Halloween. One or the other.
Yeah.
So, Louis, when was your first time watching Saw? Let's kind of take it back to 2004, 2005, because you might not have seen it in theaters. When you watched Saw, and what was your experience? Did you watch the first Saw with me or no?
That is correct. Now listen, I know we talked about this many of times. I've been a scaredy cat most of my life. I've always played it safe, never liked horror films, and thanks to my dear friend over there, he didn't help with that. Torturing me in my mind and my body with the ring and all of that. So I stayed away from horror films. So I remember when Saw came out, you definitely wanted me to view it. And of course, not being a fan of horror films when I was younger, I said, no way, no way. And I avoided Saw for the majority of the time. And then one night, you came over, and I think Saw came out with 3 films already by this point. And my sister is a big horror film fan. So she wanted to watch a scary film. You brought over Saw. You said, come on, let's do it finally. And we popped it in. And we watched the first Saw in my room. And I was surprised how much I liked it. I thought it was brilliant. Of course, you can attest to the great twist at the end. Was amazing. And that really caught my eye. So we did watch this in my room. I loved the first one. And then right after that, I think we finished Saw 2 and Saw 3. So I was late to the Saw party. We watched the first 3 on DVD. And this is right around probably August, September time, right before the 4th one came out. And that's when we went together and we did the haunted house at like Sunset Station.
Great memories. But yeah, like you predicted, I had no idea. I didn't remember. I wasn't sure exactly how it happened. But I know you did come to a few midnight premieres. Yeah.
4 and 5, no doubt. That's about it. And then I said, okay, enough. I can't take this. It's just too much pain now. I can't.
However,
but the first one.
The first one. Okay, well, let me kind of take you and talk about the origins of Saw. So, which might be weird for some people. It might sound strange. But I dedicated my review of Saw, the 10th anniversary, to my mom. People ask, I'm sure people are going to ask, why Saw? Why would you dedicate that movie review to your mom? And why so late? Because I honestly would have to say, out of every movie that I've watched, and every movie that me and my mom have watched, Saw has been the one that has a relationship with us. And again, I know it sounds strange, but me and my mom have went to every midnight premiere of Saw there has been. So for 8 years straight, me and her had seen Saw at a midnight premiere. As Louis said, he attended 2 of them, or 2 or 3 maybe. And so to me, that movie comes to me with the heart of my mom and bringing her and showing her these movies. And when I get them on DVD, she's like, let's watch it again. I don't remember. I don't know what's going on in the new ones, and just a lot of fun stuff. However, I vividly remember the first time I watched Saw and how incredibly amazed I was by the twist. I think the twist that movie offered is one of the greatest twists that a movie has offered. I think it kind of really started a chain of movies wanting to mimic the twist. And I'm not saying Saw is the first movie to ever use a twist in a plot, but Saw really kind of made it a fad after that in most horror films. I think Charlie Clouser created I would say, our generation's horror theme song. As to this day, we still hear Halloween and the and chants from Jason Voorhees. Charlie Clouser created a theme song that really kind of is our nod. Now, though I'm not sure that Charlie Clouser's theme song will last nearly as long as Dan Carpenter's Halloween theme song, but he created something that I think is honestly has I'm sorry, did I say Dan Carpenter?
I believe so.
I meant John Carpenter. Dan Carpenter is our Buffalo Bills kicker. So, yeah, sorry about that. So John Carpenter made the theme song for Halloween. He made up an orchestra and said they made it, but it's not the case. But Charlie Clouser's theme song has, I think, that song really struck me, especially the main theme. And I think that hopefully 20 years down the line, when our kids are going shopping, they're going to hear that song, because that song still gives me chills. I think it drives the ending. I mean, it always plays at the end of the films. It just has this whole feeling to it. So to me, that score really helps that movie and that franchise. And I think it's the best horror score we've created. Our generation, at least, because, we didn't have Halloween. We didn't create Halloween. We didn't create all the other great scores that we do have as far as a horror soundtrack. But Charlie Clouser created it for us. I feel the performance from Tobin Bell in not one, but most of the Saw films are incredible. I think he is creepy. I think he is evil, yet not as evil as one would appear, because there is such an intention behind his actions. Not saying if you have an intention, it makes it okay. If it's not a good thing, I'm not saying I agree with Tobin Bell and Jigsaw, but
hope not.
It gave us a new light on how to look at things. Most killers, you cheated on me, I hated you, this and this. He just said, I want people to appreciate life. A message you would not think would come from a killer, vicious murderer, and so creative. I mean, the thought of having people play games to survive, though, again, might not sound like the most original thing when you hear it, but the way Jigsaw does it, incredibly original and fun. Even though the first film isn't that critically acclaimed, let alone this 5, 6, 7, 8.
It has a 44 on Rotten Tomatoes.
I'm a huge fan of the Saw franchise. Always have been, always will be. Granted, I know that they get bad towards the end, but that franchise means a lot to me. And I watched it grow, as many people did, but I mean, I felt like that movie, I mean, as I've mentioned before, the horror movie genre has been a doorway for me to get into this world of film. And I got to watch these franchises from generations before me. Saw was the one I'll be able to say, oh man, I saw every Saw in theaters, to my kids and grandkids, if they ask about them. Granted, I don't know if Saw is going to be around in 25 years, like Louis said. It might be one of those cult classics where everyone's like, my dad told me about this horror movie, John. It's called Saw. It was it was made in like 2000s. It's ancient, but we got to get it. There's a whole bunch of gore. A lot of people criticize it for gore porn. And, I'm not someone who really cares about gore that much either. Like, if you don't need it, don't use it. But to me, Saw works. Saw works on a whole bunch of levels. I thoroughly enjoy it. I consider it one of my favorite horror films for many reasons. And, it just had an impact on me. And like I said, the fact that the villain wasn't killing for something foolish or vicious, but he wanted us to appreciate that to me, Jigsaw as a villain, Tobin Bell's character as a villain had a lot of interesting. It was very complex, and though some might say it was kind of not so complex, I thought he was, and I thought he was an interesting enough character that I was interested enough to essentially see him 8 times. And though I was not super crazy about the last couple Saws, I think as a franchise, they mean a lot to me, and I really love them. So that's going to be my review on Saw. Read more about what I have to say about the 10th anniversary of the first Saw film, and I'll talk a lot more about the first film in general. ChasingCinema.com/Saw. Moving on. Do you have anything else to say about Saw?
The first one was really, really cool. It was well done, man. I'm just thinking of the last scene, and the last scene is all you need. Crazy.
Zip.
The song playing.
Do you want to play a game?
Just him just getting up slowly.
No spoilers.
No, I said him. Who's him?
But, yeah, totally. I
great.
agree. And every film had a great twist. Every film you were trying to figure out what was going on. And most of the time, people didn't figure it out. And that was awesome. I'm surprised Saw is such a low... I think the first I'm surprised... The film was shot in 28 days. That's pretty short. Mm-hmm. And I'm surprised it had such a low score. I don't know. I want to see if that's the lowest... what the highest scoring Saw was. But, Saw 1 is 48. Saw 2 is 36. Saw 3 is 28. Saw 4 is 17. Saw 6 is 37. They skipped 5. Saw 5 is 12. Saw 3D is 9.
Yeah. Steady decline.
No, not really. Because it goes back up with 6. So 6 is rated better than 2 and 3. So it goes Saw and then Saw 6. Then Saw 2.
I never saw the 6th one. I went 1 through 4, like I've said before. Definitely 1, 2, and 3 are worth your time. Because even 2 and 3 are not that bad. It kept you guessing, kept you involved. Amanda as a character was very intriguing as well. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely, especially for our generation, when Halloween comes.
Shawnee Smith, I thought, did a wonderful job as her character as Amanda. And I think Tobin Bell does, too. I can't even watch Seinfeld without getting a little goosebump when I hear his voice. So, there's a lot of... So, I guess, critically, Saw is not the most successful franchise. However, to me, those movies are great. And I love them. And like I said, I know as we got older... or as the films went on, they weren't so spectacular. But to me, wow. I mean, this first film, to me, is one of my favorite horror films of all time. Moving on. Or do you have anything else?
No, I think that's great.
All right. Moving on. We're going to talk about Nightcrawler. So, Nightcrawler is the new film from Dan Gilroy that tells the story of Lou Bloom, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, who is a deviant character who decides... What's funny?
The way you said deviant.
Deviant character who takes it upon himself to get in the world of freelance videography for news. And during this, he finds out that if he can manipulate... and at times really sinisterly manipulate crimes and car crashes, he could get to the news first and get the shots no one else can. Louis, what was your impression of Nightcrawler?
I've been wanting to see this movie for a long time now. I'm a fan of Jake Gyllenhaal. I think he's a terrific young actor, and I'm intrigued what he has to offer us. So when I saw he was attached to this, I became instantly intrigued by the prospect of this film. And then once the trailers start releasing, my anticipation grew so much. So it's a film I've been looking forward to for a while now, and finally getting to see it. It definitely lived up to the hype. It's a film that is kind of fresh and original, something we haven't seen a lot of recently. And in the film year that's kind of been generic for the most part, some good moments here and there. This kind of shakes you up. It kind of wakes you up. You talk about the date analogy, how American Sniper kisses you the first time it meets you. This is the film that does that. It kind of toys with you, smacks you around. Nightcrawler creeps you out, makes you laugh, makes you uncomfortable, makes you just anxious in general. And the performance of Jake Gyllenhaal definitely makes this film so much successful. So it makes it work, and he gives probably his best performance he's given in his career. And it's a creepy, psychotic, desperate, lonely performance, and he definitely knocks every aspect of Lou Bloom out of the park. I think it has a great message underneath of what it's trying to say about the media, about how, when you turn on the news, what do you see? You always see something about this crime, carjackings, killings, murders. If it's blood, what the code? If it bleeds, let it lead. And definitely that's a part of a newscast, and that's part of society. Excuse me, I began to stutter a little bit. So it definitely makes you think, and it's a smart film. It's well crafted. There's some minor parts I don't want to nitpick, but I could have done without here and there. But it's really a near perfect film that really works on all cylinders and gets under your skin.
So, before going on, the film was written and directed by Rene Russo's husband, Dan Gilroy, who, just to quickly give a little bit of a filmography, wrote Two for the Money, Real Steel, and Born Legacy.
Mm-hmm. And his brother is Tony Gilroy, and he did the other Supremacy films, the Bourne films, and he directed Michael Clayton. So it's a duo.
But to hear words to movies like The Fall, The Bourne Legacy, and Two for the Money, Real Steel, none of them are really in one category. They're all kind of different films. Mm-hmm. And Nightcrawler is just like that, as though it is branded as a drama thriller. I would honestly argue that Nightcrawler is just as good as a horror film as anything else that's come out this year. Scary movie speaking. Because of how terrifying Jake Gyllenhaal is in his performance. This movie kind of all rests on Jake Gyllenhaal's performance, because if he's not an interesting character, then this movie becomes a lot less interesting. If Jake Gyllenhaal as Lou Bloom didn't intrigue us and didn't fascinate us in how sinister and deviant he is, this movie doesn't work. However, he accomplishes that. He brings his character to a whole new level, and though he was creepy in Prisoners and has done some amazing performances, in this film he takes it, he kind of really shapes a character that is quite memorable. And as we talked about earlier, was compared to his Travis Bickle. And watching him create this character and watching him kind of evolve through the film is quite terrifying. I mean, literally gave me goosebumps multiple times during the film. And like I said, is genuinely scary. The movie really, really works because it is quite stylish. It is sleek, and like we said, it definitely has some originality. And just this, but again, it's all about this character. I really cannot go very far from that character because of everything that he does that makes the film work. His lack of sympathy, his way of attaining things that he wants, how he feels he deserves, how he feels he is owed. I mean, is just quite a very interesting experience. It's very much like a portrait. This movie is not so much about a plot, but more of a character portrait. If we were talking about Henry, the portrait of a serial killer. This movie is a portrait on this character of Lou Bloom, and I think it does a fantastic job. And Jake Gyllenhaal totally nails it. Really, really got in depth with his character. I mean, such a complex type person. I wish we only knew more about him and what his where he came from. As fellow critic Michael Smith talked about, you can find him at Mike's Film Talk, or Mike Talks Film. Mentioned him last week. He sat with us and we were talking about it, and he explained how he just wished he knew where this character came from and more of his origins. But overall, a really, really amazing and powerful movie. I loved it. I I've been saying this a little bit too often lately, but I think this was one of my favorite movies I've seen this year. Just because of the different and the creepy feeling it gave me. It kind of brought me back to Tobin Bell and Saw, is this creepy and villainous character who has a different way about them. It has a different style, and he's a little bit different than your average monster that you might think of. And I really, really enjoyed his character, and overall really enjoyed this film.
Yeah, it's Gyllenhaal's most transformative performance.
Perfect. Well said, yes.
And it definitely creeps you out and gets you under your skin, you know?
I think that is the greatest word to define it. It's very creepy. It'll make your skin crawl.
Yeah, absolutely.
So read the review for Nightcrawler on ChasingCinema.com/Nightcrawler. We thank you for tuning in to our podcast. We hope you had a safe Halloween, because you're hearing this after Halloween. Presumably, hopefully. And join us next week as me and Louis talk about... Oh, no. You're right. Louis will be gone next week. He's going to San Diego doing some business. Join us next week as me and James Shue talk about Interstellar and Big Hero 6. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to our podcast and downloading us. I appreciate it. Find more of our work at ChasingCinema.com, Facebook.com/ChasingCinema, or find us on Twitter at ChasingCinema. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. I am Jacob Toronto. And I'm
Louis Corazolo.
There you go. And please continue chasing cinema.